very excited to present this Infecting the City Festival 2014 and to introduce you to the program. You're getting the first scoop on what is actually in the program. I just had some brief comments to make, just to say that the festival, of course, has been running now for seven incarnations, and this festival is I think, built on the previous festivals, and certainly in the past three festivals. So you will find that there is quite a confirmed sense of roots. Those of you that are aware of Infecting the City Festival, we found that really worked. The idea of inviting you get a kind of a destination-based audience coming to one work, and invariably, like Pied Piper Hamelin, it acquires a whole bunch of other people, and it goes on to the second, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and the sixth, and the seventh performance on that particular route. There's several programs. On Monday evening, we open up with program A at 6 p.m. and then which is repeated on Tuesday evening, and then on Tuesday afternoon, there's a program at 12 o'clock, which is repeated on Wednesday afternoon. And then on Wednesday evening, there is a smaller program, which I will talk to you about. And then on Thursday, there is something called an Explorer program, which is not route-based, but will have tour groups taking people to these performances and artworks that are largely installation-based. So they require a bit more time than moving from one boat to the other, which is why we decided to create one program which is entirely exploratory. Now, and then on Thursday evening and Friday evening, there was the second of the evening programs, also starting at 6 and finishing at 11. And if you think that's going to be too much of a challenge, there is a break in the middle, and there will be food stalls appropriately at the place of that particular performance. So we've tried to think of everything, except that I don't think these food stalls are going to sell caviar or anything like that. So they're going to be sustenance food, and for you to get through the rest of the program. And we hope that it's not going to take too much food, and your interest will be sustained by the variety of the work, the veracity of the work, and what is earth-shattering use of space. There we go, muzzle top or something. Somebody has to do. We are now officially open in Infecting the City. Thank you. So the programs, and just to those of you that are interested, we originally had about 250 to 300 entries after an open call. And I must say this time around they were much more authoritative. People were much more interested in submitting larger works, more established works. So yeah, I think so. This year's program does feels a bit more mature. It's very hard. It's like kind of trying to say which child is most beautiful. So I don't know. I can't compare last year's to this year's, except to say that yeah, I think it feels a little bit more mature. So without further ado, I'm going to take us through the various programs, just so that you can get a snapshot of all the performances. I'm going to try as far as possible to speak to each and every work, but for lack of time, there will be some works I will skim through and negotiate with Mike and Raptor. Okay, so Monday and Tuesday evening, this is the 6 o'clock to 10, well it says 10 o'clock, but with the break it goes up to 10:30, 10:30 quarter to 11, depending on how fast you walk. So we have in the whale well, in the brilliant whale well at the Ezekiel Museum, we're going to have a start of the production by P.J. Sabak and the Forgotten Angle Theatre Collective called Back. Unfortunately, Dada Marcella will not be in it. Those of you that are followers of Dada, she wasn't the original cast, but she'll be touring during that time. But this is going to be a cast of 4 performers. So we're starting off with Whale Well, and then we go across to the center for the book. And at the center for the book, there's a reprise of Ne Moyanga's Teresa the Marusa, which is based on the Anki-Krot poetry. And yeah, that was a real stunner. And in the marvelous center for the book, I'm sure that's going to be quite exquisite. And then we're going to take on something which I brought together called Private Moments in Public Spaces, and I was really interested in this environment, the ability to be private and very, very personal in an extremely public space. So I commissioned works from a few choreographers, some of them from their existing work, and and this is going to be staged after you've done Centre for the Book. This is going to be staged on Queen Victoria Road, and we're going to close it. So we're going to have Mamela Nyamsa's Hatched, a section from that, and that will be a 20-minute version of Hatch, and that's going to be against the fence of the company's gardens. And then Ryan Bernardino is going to do, she's submitting a video, and it's quite a grueling video. It's a 10-minute work. It's black and white, and it's going to be projected on one of the walls of company's gardens, and it's literally of her sitting down while garbage is thrown at her repeatedly. So, don't eat your food before. And then we have a really tender work, and I mean, just to remind you that these works are going to be on that road. So it's going to be this work called Couched by Brian Finster and Sean Olive, two of the most exciting young choreographers coming out of Cape Town recently now, and they're going to be performing that on the road, a 15-minute, very intimate work. And then Dark Cell, this work by Temba Mbuli is going to be on St. George's Cathedral in the car park with projections on the cathedral itself. And it's also a very intimate work around the life of a prisoner inside this tiny cell. And of course references our 20-year history and how far we have not. And then we have, interspersed with this, and those of you that remember Kerry Kemper's mischievous redressing, as if he needed an undressing and a redressing, Cecil John Rhodes' statue. I don't know how many of you remember that from last year. But she's doing her work, and if you give me a moment, I'm just going to call it up because it was very hard to put this on PowerPoint. So this is what she's going to do. She's going to dress up these gates on the side with, and it's called wall hug. So she's going to convert parts of that wall, those two walls along Queen Victoria Road, into using fabric. She's going to have people, of course, behind it with their arms covered in fabric, and as you walk past, you can go in for a free hug. Isn't that? So list all the rest of the other works that you can if you're feeling a little bit tender. And the person next to you doesn't want to hug you, you can then get a free hug. So that's Kerry Kemper. So moving on, then we have after that there will be the break that I was talking about, and then we go to Green Market Square this time for a powerful concert by the Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra, and that will be happening around about 9 o'clock. So Green Market Square, the orchestra at 9 o'clock, I think is going to be a very special experience, and they have come up with a particular repertoire for the evening. This work is by Pedro Bustamante, and it's a really powerful work. This kicks into a bit of a political part in the program. This book is called The Accumulation is Primitive, and it refers to the GDP of various countries throughout the world, and it's graphically illustrated through the use of a world map. I'm sorry about the low-res version of this. And it's made out of candles. It's made out of very thick candles, And there are about 200 of these that will be worked. I can't exactly tell you the space because you can imagine it's been a logistical nightmare. And we've just about sorted it out, and it will most likely be at the amphitheatre outside the Ezekiel Museum, where they're going to give us the use of that large space, and we're going to even have about 200 candles lit in the to graphically illustrate the inequality of the various nations. Then, I don't know whether those of you that are familiar with Christian Nerf's work. This work is called The Polite Force, and it's police people being polite. And they will be dressed up and will intervene in the audience as they go along. It's just a tongue-in-cheek entry from one work into another, and leading. There will be about 10 of these performers leading us through the work. And we finally come to the final work of the evening, and that's Aline Worcester. She's from Berlin, and we're very excited to have her work. It's a very seminal work. It's going to be next to the Western Cape Provincial Government building. It's a work around surveillance, and there will be cameras that will ape the surveillance cameras in that area, and will reflect images on the corner of Whale and Long Street against the large wall in black and white surveillance footage. So there's a lot of material written about it, and it's also the programs are going to be in your hands in about 5 minutes, as soon as I'm finished. Okay, Tuesday and Wednesday. So that's all on one evening, and you can have a rest and come out on Wednesday instead of Tuesday. So Tuesday and Wednesday at 12 o'clock, from 12 to 4:30. This is a performance by Lopez, a composer. He's very Francesco Lopez. He's currently based in Amsterdam, and he creates these really powerful soundscapes. First, of course, when you enter, and this is going to be also in the center for the book, you will be blindfolded, or hundreds of people, lots of blindfolds, and he takes you through a soundscape from anything from the cityscapes of Shanghai through to the Amazon, and it takes you through those various layers. He's world famous for doing this, and we are so excited to have him with us. So he kicks off that day, and then we have a company that's presenting a work called Glaciology. They're from Canada, called Orangutan. They come courtesy of the Canadian Embassy, and they're going to be collaborating with some performers from South Africa. And all I can just say is that they create the architecture of the floor and surfaces using 10 bodies moving together. So you can just imagine 10 bodies moving like a glacier through the city. And they're going to start on your route, but they're going to keep moving for about 3 hours throughout the city. 10 bodies moving very, very close to the floor. And then we have a work from Johannesburg. The work is called Amandondolo. Let me just show you some images first. The work references the shacks, but they're very tongue-in-cheek, and they'll be moving throughout the city also in much the same way as the other work. And every so often they're going to be sitting next to some of our historical statues for a kind of a tongue-in-cheek, not so tongue-in-cheek reference. The work is by Armin Tuli. And then installed in various parts of the city. So the work, the works from here on, including this, are quite experiential. So there are about 20. There will be 20 performers who will do a version of the body spectra, but this will be more in the form of camouflage. So if you can just imagine the side of a tree or the side of the St. George's Cathedral, there'll be against the Taj, on the Taj balcony, there'll be performers. So you will possibly miss them, and that's the point. You shouldn't miss them, and then they'll be really successful. So if you walk around going, where are the 20 performers that the curator said? Well, they've been quite successful. No, they are going to move really, really slowly and try to give you a sense, and they're all going to be quite close together. So as you walk across, there'll be about 15 of these, or 20 of these, 20 of these kind of moving really, really slowly. And the idea is to give, those of you, people that will have a program will know, but hopefully people passing by will be nicely freaked out by the experience. The idea that this environment breathes and moves, and they're going to do this with this expert full body makeup, and this is being done by City Varsity lecturer in makeup, Joe Roots, with 20 performers. And then we have 2 works by Sean Bowen. Also, the idea, it's in the series Personal Moments in Public Spaces. Both works are also quite intimate. The one work is based on a table, or it is on a table in front of the St. George's Cathedral, and then another work will be in front of the cross on St. George's Mall. Moving along, we have along St. George's Mall is a work. It's a series by Monique Pelzer. There are many artists around. I'll point them out to you at the end of the thing, so you can, if you want to speak to them. This is quite an amazing book, and it's not just because she's here. The works are oh dear, I'm not going to misrepresent it. They're heightened representation of the notion of witness. So what she's done is taken archive photographs of key events in history, especially in our political history. For example, the release of Nelson Mandela, and various other events. And she's honed in on people in the crowd, and has created these very large digital prints of them. And there will be prints available for people to take, as well as prints that will be on boards on the way on St. George's Mall. Also referencing the 20-year democracy, and I just wanted to say that we weren't going to bang people's heads with the notion that this is 20 years of our democracy. But Cape Town does tend to be in a little bit of a bubble, so we thought it's very important to remind ourselves every so often that it has been 20 years of democracy, and that it was hard won, and whatever it is that we feel that's going on, that it is time to our work is both critical as well as celebration of this moment. And I thought, and quite a few artists, and this wasn't a call out, we didn't ask for works that referenced 20 years of our democracy, but quite a few artists have been making work that resonated. One of those was Pamela Nyamza, and her work, 19 Born, 76 Rebels, premiered at the Montpellier Festival, and we're really, really excited to have this work in this route, because also that it's going to be right in front of the fountains on Strand Street. So it's quite a hard hitting, and it's an experimental work in the sense that it is not a typical narrative. It's going to tax the audience, and it's really interesting to take a work like this and place it during the day in a very popular space like that, together with all the other more popular works. Faniswe Isa and Pamela Nyamza perform it. And then we go to a work by a Swiss dance company, Damotis. They're presenting a work called Con Tattoo. I mean, it speaks for itself. It's really exquisite. It's very light, but at the same time, it deals with notions of commune and working together. So they work very, very sensitively with people as well as with the architecture. So they don't just make pretty pictures. I mean, it's a really nice picture, but they don't just make pretty pictures. They're very, very concerned with how to create a feeling of connection and communitas in the city. Understanding that the city can be an extremely alienating, powerfully disturbing experience for many people, and that disturbance is very often repressed. They try to create this kind of communitas amongst strangers in the most gentlest of ways. I've seen many people try to do that unsuccessfully. That kind of like, hold hands and, and they do it really badly. But this is the antithesis of it. They're using their bodies and a very, very clear, highly well-honed kinetic technique. They involve people in various movements until they're going to do this now, if you imagine, from Strand Street all the way through to Tybalt Square until they culminate in a huge performance on Tybalt Square itself. And then it's not yet over. Zoe Garza choreographs the dancers from Jazz Art Dance Theatre as well as dancers, so it's a 20-strong dance company inside. I'm so excited about this piece. Inside the My City bus stop. And the work is about traveling. And if you've gone to the My City bus stop or past it, right opposite Tybalt Square, and I saw this, a rehearsal of this on the weekend, and it gave me goosebumps through it. I'm a jaded old man, and for it to something like that to give me goosebumps, it was quite exquisite to stand on the side of the road and to watch 20 dancers talk about traveling and dance about traveling. It's very high, it's high power, high energy. They do. It's in Zoe Garza's very particular style. It's really, really very powerful. But the most important thing is that it's through what looks like it's these slats that you see them. So the performers become quite otherworldly inside the My City space. And I think it's going to be really, really exciting for all kinds of people to be able to see the possibility of that in that space. And talking about the works in different spaces, this is company Returmo from Paris. They're going to be doing an aerial work on the side of the building. It's a 35-minute work. It's a very, very, it's an extremely intimate work, and it's on the side of the building, quite high up on the side of the building. And they've been doing this now for about 25 years. They actually appeared on the Infecting the City Festival many, many years ago. And this time around, they're presenting quite an intimate, powerful work, quite way high up. And I don't know whether how familiar you are with the foreshore, but it's going to be above the sharks, where the silver sharks are. It's going to be above that. It's a really beautiful environment. And finally, we on that route, there's something called Urban Resting Place, and this is one of the projects I'm really excited about. Also, at the weekend, at 10 o'clock, 80 students presented these models for building the Pier Place as well as parts of Golden Acre into spaces of rest and communal interaction. So these are some of the models. They're going to use various materials to create spaces of shade as well as spaces of sitting, resting, and kind of communal eating. So some of it's not represented here, but there's another, one of the groups has simply made a very, very large dining table for the middle of Pier Place so that people can get food and sit opposite each other, a variety of food and eat. So various parts of Pier Place will be worked through. These are models, and they're all using different materials. This, for example, will be made out of those crates and coloured in that colour. Crates that will form the idea of this is to create a kind of a lead in to where the resting places are. And these are made out of discs, also spaces for people to repose, to sit, and to chat, communal spaces for people to chat. So, yeah, and that's program B. Okay, I've got 3 more programs, and I'm going to run through them. Program C, very short, Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock to 11 o'clock it's here. First of all, this is Talking Heads. Talking Heads is a program that is the only piece in this entire festival that does cost something. Okay. And that's going to be at the Gold Museum. I'm sure you are aware of this kind of speed dating with experts that you'll have an experience of encountering a whole range of different experts from various disciplines, and it's in the form of speed dating. With a speed dating, armed with glasses of wine, you will go from one to another to another to another, based on a time and a rotation system. And you can hear from anything from astrophysics through to neuroscience, through to but a range of different disciplines that you can go through. And that's going to be at the Gold Museum. And if you need more information about Tanner Netherland, sitting right in front, we'll be able to answer any questions about that particular program. But also on this program, in this very space, for here, there's going to be just one work, and it's called Purge. Now, to explain Purge. Purge is being devised by Brian Liddell, also an artist from abroad, from the United Kingdom. And what this is I'll just show you what he does in these performances. He puts up his Facebook account, and he goes through all the friends on his Facebook account, and he has to validate to you why he has a particular friend. And you are going to vote whether you think it's necessary for him to keep that friend or not. And if he can't tell you whether that's a really bona fide friend, or for any reason you think he doesn't need that particular person in his life, you can actually vote the friend off, and he will, in front of you, delete that friend from his account. So, unfortunately, the work has been so popular internationally and has been through so many festivals that by the time we had accepted it, he had deleted his account off his friend, and has had several run-ins with his real-life friends who have been deleted. And his life is now quite a mess. He's getting some therapy. So what he's done is impose this horror on another performer, Amy Jefter, who's a well-known writer and theatre personality from Cape Town, will attempt to purge her life of her unwanted friends, or friends you deem are unwanted. So that's going to be quite fascinating. And during Wednesday, from 4 o'clock all through to 11 o'clock, so she's going to sit here for 7 hours, and it becomes quite a performance of endurance as well. She's going to spend 7 hours deleting friends based on your opinions. So that's Purge. Okay, Program D. Program D is the Explorer version of the program on Thursday afternoon. We're calling it from 12 to 5. Of course, the festival center is going to be open, and if you want to communicate it, the best way to tell people is that it's ideal for people to arrive at 12 o'clock. But if not, we're going to put this out on the website as well. They could come at 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, or 4 o'clock. And we will send them out in tours. We got quite a few works that we couldn't program the way we've been programming the other works, and we wanted it to people to feel free to take some time with it. So hence we came up with this. Cozy Cozy is a work that is a collaboration by performers and directors from the UK and from South Africa. And just to say, if you're looking for an interesting angle, there are quite a few of those kinds of collaborations, which I found very powerful this year. The work tells stories of Cape Town as told by silent storytellers that are incorporated into an audio tour. So it's going to be a combination of sound, of music that's been specially composed, and actual narratives, a kind of impressionistic view of Cape Town. You're going to have to download the app or just arrive here and you'll get the iPod or the MP3 player, and you go for a 30-minute tour around Cape Town, walking tour, with the audio playing in your ears, and it's an extremely layered, powerful indication of it. It's one of the participants here. Yes, there it is. So if you want to know more about that, it's a very complex work, and I think he's going to be best talking about it if you want to approach it. This work is, she's also here. What is your work now called? My Slice, sorry. Excuse me, I'm trying to keep all this by hand. My Slice is a work by Maria van Glas, and Maria has been working a lot with crochet and creating crochet, creating works with crochet as metaphors for other things. So she's going to be under the slate tree in front here, right in front here, with a little table with a crochet work on the little table that grows beyond itself. So it might go into the road and go across the road, but it's an obsession that has gone a little bit crazy. Yeah. So it's something that is small and fine that has gone beyond, that has burst its bounds. And that's crochet. And Maria van Glas, you put your hand up. There she is, right in the back. If you want to know a little bit more about it. Thank you. And then in the crypt, we have something called Rotting Treasures. This is also this is the work around the Marikana moment, a singular moment in our democracy. It's a work that's going to be installed underneath the crypt, underneath this entrance. So it's a combination of a video work and a performance work that evokes the strong sense of it's the artist's sense of not just what had happened, but what is to come. It's a narrative of foreboding by the artist. This work is called. This is Murray Stoltz's work. It's called Voyeur Piano, and I'll tell you how. The piano playing will be on this building, but you'll view it from here, and that's what it will look like. So the piano will be done. You won't be able to hear it. You'll have the sound fed to you by through a sound system, and the idea is to feel slightly disconnected, not slightly, but very disconnected from the music itself. The work was originally designed to make us as a festival audience feel apart from what is actually happening down there, and to play with that distance. This is a really wonderful work called Smellscapes, and it's going to be a series of smells placed inside the fountain. So every day there are going to be different smells. It's going to emanate anything from the Tokai forest to as well, but a range of different smells in the forest. Another coup for the festival was to get the shop fronts of the Strand Concourse, which is a series of shops that were empty, and we got them to create exhibitions. So there are seven shopfront windows, and we'll have artworks from across the country, anyone from Usha Sityo to Francis Goodman and Atika Ruga, and the works are being curated by Prasanna Bacha. So an exhibition inside the Golden Acre. This is another work by Brian Lobel called Carpe, and Carpe is also, in his inimitable way, it involves his assistant and himself selling or getting you to sell, buying 1 minute of your life. He's going to give you 10 rands, and you're going to give him a minute of your life. And the way you do that is by entering into a booth and having your 1 minute video taped. And that 1 minute, after you've signed off on it, you will get your 10 rand and it will be his. And then he sells that 1 minute at a later date. You'll see later on the final day, on the Saturday, he'll sell DVDs with 1 minute, or with about 30 of these, to the highest bidder. So if you can get your 10 rands, but then that's it. He plays with this idea, if you're aware of it, he's playing with the idea of Mephistopheles and the whole idea of how much does the 1 minute of your life cost, which you all are probably asking now. I think you have for half an hour, what does it much do this cost? Yeah. So he's playing with that. This is the Michaelis pop-up exhibition. It's going to be a traveling exhibition from my Michaelis Fine Art students. I'm going to run through all of this. This is another amazing work called Steel and Photo. And the work. Hello. So the work, the exhibition really literally lasts again. With some of the works that are extremely playful. This work will be this exhibition will be up for as long as it gets stolen. So people will be invited to steal the works. So you can go up to it and steal it. Take the works. In one of the exhibitions, in one of the festivals in Copenhagen, it lasts 20 seconds. So this work lasts only 20 seconds. But you've got to steal it in a particular way, and there are instructions on the website, there's instructions in the program as to how you go about doing it. So, and there will be some bounces which you'll have to negotiate. But you've got to figure this out, how to go in and try to steal the artist's work, and hopefully you'll be shyer than the Danish, and less greedy, and we'll have an exhibition to look at. But it's playing on commerce, on the economics of it, and the commercial art gallery circuit. This is a really bad photograph of what this is, because it's nothing like this. It's the Spears School of Architecture, and they're working with mosaics, and the work itself will be installed in St. George's Mall, and the people that are working on it will be working at that time on the Thursday throughout the day, creating these works. This is another interesting work. It's the work is hidden, and it's a painting, but it's a painting that might, playing a lot it's the pieces of the festival of camouflage. So as in he creates this so well, he paints this so well that at some points you might think it's the real thing, and only on closer inspection you see that the work is not what it is. It's an artwork. On program E, this is our final evening programs from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We start with something called Feed by Graham Leas. It's a work that questions how you listen, a combination of FM radio tuning in as well as live music. This is all I'm going to say about this work. It's an experimental work. It's very complex and very, very interesting. There's a write-up about it and thing, but I don't want to go into too much. But it's a really, it questions to what extent what we are listening to in our daily life, like right now, the authenticity of what we're listening to. And then we have Nelly Sieber-Klauber and Marco van Veeren. Nelly's works, Uncles and Angels, will be performed at the Heading Hall. It's also a highly acclaimed work. It's been traveling through many festivals in Europe, and we finally have it at Infecting the City Festival. This is an anti-opera called Say Yes or Die, also from Switzerland. It's an experimental opera. When I say experimental, I mean that it experiments with the form of opera. It's going to be installed in the company's garden, so it's going to be a really, really interesting space to see it in, including an opera inside a pond. So there are 4 acts in various parts of the company's gardens. This is Odidiva, and he is going to be working with a choreographer and a full company of dancers, about 12 dancers, and they are in front of the Iziko National Gallery, and they are working. The work is called Bushwhacking. It's based on a kind of voguing, a kind of style that's very apparent in South Africa. It's very inimical to South Africa. It's kind of like voguing, but it's an entire style that references a survival mechanism of physicality in this country. And this obviously, in the work itself, is referencing aspects of homophobia on the continent. But it's all done in a very inimitable, kind of larger than life, extremely showy, extremely entertaining way. Odidiva in front of the Iziko Gallery. This is mechanized intimacy, and then as you pass the gallery after you've had a break and something to eat, in the company's gardens, you'll be going through to Commercial Road. On the side, on one of the buildings, on a dilapidated building, will be another video by Ryan Bernardino. And this time she kisses a range of different strangers. And she has put all these videos together of her kissing a whole number of strangers. And she, after you watch this repeated kissing of strangers, she questions the slow mechanization of intimacy in a very graphic way. So after you see that on the side of the building, you go to a center which I don't know how many of you have actually been to. It's a center for hundreds of people called the Scalbrina Center. Center largely for immigrant population from various parts of the continent. Rosa Postlethwaite, an artist from the United Kingdom, has created a work with 10 performers from the drama group associated with Scalbrina Center, in which they talk about their aspirations, their lives, and their living in Cape Town as immigrants. After that we will come all the way down and we'll come to Church Square. In front of Church Square, you will see, in front of Church Square, there's a work called Mbuye, which also references the democracy, but there are 20 dancers against a backdrop of projection on the building itself. It's quite a spectacular event after the Scalbrina Center coming to that. And then we have the Cape Town Symphony's Youth Orchestra, and they will be playing a full set of 40 minutes, but about 15 minutes of that will be a collaboration with 30 Pantsulo dancers. So 30 Pantsulo dancers and a 60-strong orchestra, so yeah, that's 90 performers on Church Square. So it's quite a treat. This is Brian Lavelle again, and at the end of the evening, Brian will do a lecture about his piece, Purge, okay, which you would have seen on Wednesday night. This is his lecture. And then the final program, Friday afternoon, 12 to 4:30 and Saturday from 10 to 2:30. We started a massive puppet performance. These are 4-meter high puppets. That's correct, right? 4-meter high. There are about 17 performers, and they are going to take over the whole of St. George's Mall and going through to Tidal Square and then actually do their performance on Cape Town Station. These are really exquisite puppets, and the manipulation of them is amongst the best I've seen. And yeah, they come from Johannesburg. Then on Tidal Square, a range of different dance companies, they're coming from different kinds of dance styles, from Spanish through to hip hop, will be working around a DJ, will be in the center of the square, calling these different performers from the various buildings. There'll be someone on the ledge of one of the buildings, etc., on the Standard Bank building, and they come together to perform in a work that has been put together by Grant Stair and Sean Olive after the legendary Alfred Hinkle from Jazza to Ravel's Bolero. So you're going to find they have about 64 dancers on Tidal Square dancing to Ravel's Bolero. From there we go on to the front of the Cape Town Station. This work is by Asanga Kaka called 3,600 a Day, which is a play on the word 360. It is said that through the HRC, 360 women and children are abused every single day. She's creating 360 crosses with 360 dresses on these 360 crosses, and they will be installed in front of the Cape Town Station. And she'll be performing in and amongst them as she puts them on, and it's a reminder of the ongoing nature of sexual violence in this country. In complete contrast, Processional Walkway is a work also from an artist from the United States. She's going to put down these ice-pressed rose petals. There are 20,000 of these, 20,000 petals, or 50,000, sorry, 20%. Well, between 20 and 50,000 rose petals that are going to line as you come out of Golden Acre into the Cape Town Station. And the idea, again, in it is how to soften the sense of urbanity in the city and give us something to play, something playful. The 30-strong Pansula Dance Company also appear inside the Golden Acre. They're going to perform a work by Siyabonga Mshlobo, who's actually here from KwaZulu-Natal, who's choreographing the work, and it's being directed by Mandisi Shindo, who's also here. The work is inside the Golden Acre. There we go. And then we come to work that's by the UCT College of Music. So they're going to be playing several instruments, but they're not just going to be playing several instruments. Of course, this is Infecting the City. So they're going to be painted, and they're going to be they're going to take on these statuesque images, and they're going to be installed in a number of the point about this is to be looking up at ledges and in various parts of the city as you experience these different works. So that's the UCT College of Music. Along the way, you will see Kappa doing a new work called Balance, also on the St. George's Mall and Castle. And then you're finally getting to Slade Church, the work by Jill Richards, also based on Ankie Croft's poetry, the poetry that she wrote in Berlin. And she makes a comparison between living in Berlin and in South Africa. It's a really, really haunting work, and those of you that know Jill Richards, our foremost experimental pianist in this country. She's well known for her performance of Stockhausen's work. In fact, she's one of the most authoritative pianists for Stockhausen in the world. She gets invited artist. So she's doing this inside the slave church, and it's going to be it's again another big coup for the festival. And those of you that remember Atelier Street and the way we were, Nadia Dienchenke is going to bring Patricia and Mampela. She's going to recreate the calls of the Argus calls through a performance all along the Atelier Street. The idea is to recreate that moment when, I don't know whether you remember, there was this call for the Argus. And the performance itself is going to not just be nostalgic, but to talk about current asymmetries in how news is disseminated and the lack of humanity between in the distribution of news, the way we receive it on our telephones and electronically, as opposed to these men standing on the side of the road and talking to you about the news. So, then finally on Church Square, we're going to have the orchestra and the panzolo dancers again. As I explained to you, we're going to be on Friday night, but also on Saturday. And we're going to end with finally a selling of the carpe, those 1 minute of people's lives, and it's going to go to the Holy Spirit. So there you go, Infecting the City 2050. Thank you.